Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our discussion on NCIS Season 18, Episode 6, entitled 1 Millimeter. Yet again, an episode title that I did not have any idea what it was going to be about before this aired.
Oh, I absolutely thought that is what this was about.
I overthought the heck out of this. I was just like, this is going to be really bad. Is this the distance that Bishop and Torres are going to get to each other before they don't kiss and make us all mad?
No, I thought with how sort of in the woods McGee was of whether he was going to make it in or out of life here, that's what it was going to be about. That it was like the distance of are you living or are you not?
I really like this episode.
Good.
I was kind of worried it was going to kind of slip back into just pure story of the week territory. But good acting, funny moments. Like, Gibbs was hilarious in this episode.
He was. Gibbs without his team is something to watch.
We will dive into all of that and share our favorite Gibbs without his team moments. But before we do, if you guys enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel because we have all sorts of TV commentary coming and we are close to 44,000 subscribers.
Yeah, and we always have a new NCIS video up here after every episode, so make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss out.
Okay, can we start with Bishop and Torres because this entire episode was them just like teasing me. It's like, just come on, guys. You know how you feel about each other already.
Yeah, and I think that they've told each other at this point. I know they didn't straight come out and say it, but they did. And I think they just know each other so well after all this time that they can say things without saying it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to throw something out there. Now, you guys already know, if you've been watching this channel a while, that I think that Gibbs and Sloane hooked up at Christmas a couple of seasons ago. That either they kissed or more or whatever. Something happened. I'm going to throw out there that I actually think that Torres and Bishop kissed off screen.
Okay, see, I can't rule it out because they did a lot with Tony and Ziva that was off screen.
Yeah, and I just feel like the way that they were looking at each other afterwards when everyone was back in the bullpen again, it felt like they were exchanging knowing glances that they shared a kiss. So that's the hill I'm on right now. I think that they shared a kiss. It was off screen. And I'm kind of salty about it, of my own theory here that they kissed off screen, because I know that this show does do stuff like that, and, you know, I want to see it. And there was so much chemistry and tension in this episode that it felt like they could have just given that to us. Like, why not just go for it?
Here is my perspective. I refuse to believe that they kissed, not because I believe you're necessarily wrong, but just that I want to deny the existence of them doing this off screen and completely screwing me over after a full episode, because it's just like, we've been down this road before.
That's right. We have been down this road before. So I feel like we know what to expect from this show.
But don't you guys realize that we didn't like it when you kept the Ziva and Tony stuff from us? Like, if you guys did have Gibbs and Sloane hook up at Christmas or whatever, don't you know that we don't like having any sort of, like, physical evidence on screen of that either?
I think they know and they don't care, because that's where I think we are with this. I think that Gibbs and Sloane hooked up a couple Christmases ago, and this is where we are. That's just my theory. You guys leave us a comment. Tell me if you also think that they kissed off screen.
Here's the other thing with it, really, is that I understand NCIS, it is not a romance. As much fun as we may have on Slip Street and Alec Avenue, this show is not going to become the second coming of The Notebook or any, like, great romantic comedy out there.
That's fine. It's just a kiss, man. Yeah, like, we can all move forward. It doesn't have to be, like, Bones, for all of you who watch that, where it's like we went from seeing them start as sort of co-workers moving into something more and more and married and kids. It doesn't have to be that way. They can share a kiss and we can kind of know that they're together and we don't have to see it.
I want to see it. Like,
No, I mean go throughout the show.
I see.
It doesn't have to be like that. It can be like McGee and Delilah, who are together and married and have kids, and we get to see them together every once in a while. And it can be like that here too, that it's like, okay, we're at our job. Everything's at the job. They don't have to be making out at the job.
I suppose this is true. This is correct. It's just NCIS. Get it together, man. Like, okay, I admit it would have been the total wrong timing for this to happen, but you had Gibbs sort of walking across Bishop at that one point near the end. Like, I kind of thought for a split second they were going to do it, but it was like, are you really going to kiss while this, like, dude is, like, about to try to kill you? Probably not the right move.
No, and I mean, that was why I think it happened off screen, because there was that moment where, you know, they passed by each other and you could see it, and then they were standing with each other basically being like, you know how I feel, you know how I feel, so what are we going to do about it? And then they cut to outside with Gibbs, so I'm just like, they're kissing.
I could keep going about this for another 10 minutes because, as to use your word, I am extremely salty about it, but I will just say this. I think this is Wilmer's best episode on NCIS. I think it's one of Emily's. It's like, we don't really get to see, like, Torres that worked up that often.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everything that happened in this last episode with her almost getting blown up on the plane really affected him to the point that he was just kind of like being a helicopter around her, protect her from even making a phone call to Sloane. And I'm really glad that they actually included something like that where she was like, yeah, I have an appointment to talk to Sloane because this was really difficult for me and I need some help. Like, it's nice to sort of see that perspective from agents that go through stuff, that there is someone to talk to and that they're actually using that service.
And they did a really good job with this sort of throughout, where you had Bishop and having that appointment with Sloane. And yeah, I know Gibbs is no therapist and Gibbs is not good at sharing his feelings at all sometimes, but it was good that Gibbs and McGee had the moment at the end of the episode where they actually acknowledged what happened.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not a very easy thing to talk about, but I mean, and even for Gibbs, he was like tripping over his words and just couldn't get it out. But at least there was something there that they did talk about it. And you could see the fact that Gibbs was tripping over his words, that this really affected him, that, you know, he knew he was doing the right thing, but at the same time, it was almost the end of McGee's life.
And I think McGee knows Gibbs well enough at this point. He's sure better that this is one of the most emotional things that Gibbs could be doing, and he knows that Gibbs is not going to lay his whole heart out there. So I think McGee probably just appreciates that Gibbs even went so far as to do this.
Yeah, for sure. Talking about Sloane and Gibbs a little bit here.
All right.
It was just really... Listen, we don't have that many episodes left here on Slib Street.
Do I need to put up the picnic signs and everything
Listen,
now?
every moment counts. And it was really nice to have that moment where they were on the same side of the desk and there was the picture of the elephant. I thought that was really cute. But it feels like they are setting up for Sloane to leave now already, because we had that moment where Gibbs sat down. She was like, what? He's like, you haven't been yourself lately. Like, what's going on? She was like, bah, 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 bah. I don't know. What about you? And so there is something going on with her.
It's true. And I think they're building for some sort of exit episode coming very, very soon. And I get all of that. It's just... I get that this is a procedural and you don't want to stretch things out too much because maybe it's weird in syndication or something. I don't know. But, like, one clue about Sloane leaving in this episode, that's, like, all we have. And she's leaving really, really soon. That kind of sucks.
I agree.
Like, can't we just... give us a few episodes. You gave us like 4 or 5 episodes of Gibbs and Fornell, and there was no problem with that, apparently.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that really is an episode after an episode in syndication. It's going to be difficult to just jump in, but like, this is a big character leaving the show.
I am not having a Beltway day with this storyline. Thank you very much. I am going to use that at least for the remainder of this season.
Oh my God, the whole season?
That's right. Okay, let's have fun now, because I have made a list of the 3 best Gibbs really stinks without his team moments of this episode. And then you can tell me your favorite of this group.
All right.
Or if you have one that's off the board entirely. I think number one, Gibbs leaving a voicemail to Casey where he screws up the voicemail, and then eventually he's just like, Casey, update, and then he hangs it up. It's no like, Casey, call me back, nothing. You can't just yell at someone in your voicemail.
No, that was great. It seemed like he thought he was actually just talking to her.
That was incredible. Okay, number two, and this is actually probably my favorite one of the entire episode, which is Gibbs bringing McGee's entire desk over to McGee's place, not knowing how he has a laptop.
That was my favorite. I loved that.
Number three, Gibbs throwing away the remote when he couldn't get it to work properly.
Oh, right. He's like zooming in on that guy's nose and hitting it on the desk and just getting closer and closer and closer. That was good, too.
Gibbs is a disaster without his team. Like, that is what we have learned here.
Yeah, Gibbs and no team, it was pretty funny.
I think it's really great because they do all these stories. Sometimes they're like, oh, it's Lone Wolf Gibbs out in the wild. Well, he take down the bad guys. It's like, okay, yeah, he can function in that environment. Give him anything from the 21st century, and he's like a tortoise.
It's also just really nice to see how much he does depend on his team. And I like that because, yeah, he's a lone wolf and can do a lot of stuff on his own, but it's nice to see that he is still human and he needs his team. He likes his team. He wants his team. It was good. I like that.
Yeah, Mark had some good moments in this episode where he got to play comedy, which he doesn't always get to.
Yes.
He got to do some interesting character stuff. The Gibbs and McGee conversations were great. And I know that probably by the time we get to the next episode, which I think is a couple weeks or something like that, McGee's probably going to be A-okay and back to normal. But at least they gave us an episode where he was still kind of injured and they didn't just like completely forget that it happened.
Yeah, for sure, because the last episode he was like, oh, he's still in the woods, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's in a sling, and that's it.
We had that episode not that long ago where it seemed like Torres was almost going to die, and then he just like had a Band-Aid on his face for like the next episode or something.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, because yes, it needs to be procedural, it needs to keep moving, but come on, you can't be 1 millimeter away from dying in the last episode, and now your arm's in a sling, and that's all that's happening.
Okay, so for the last big question, at least on my mind, I want to rewind a little bit to where we were earlier on. You believe that Bishop and Torres kissed off screen in this episode?
I do. This show is notorious for that stuff.
Okay, so do you think that we will have an acknowledgement of this relationship at some point? Like maybe they're together now, maybe they kiss again. Do you think we're going to get something at least through the rest of the season, or do you think it's all going to be off screen?
For me, I actually think that we did get acknowledgement of that in this episode. That moment that they were in the bullpen together and they looked at each other and they had that sort of half smile at each other and sort of the blinking of their eyes and kind of whatever, something happened. And I think that was the acknowledgement of that. That was actually the moment that I was like, oh, something happened.
I am like 98% there. And NCIS, you guys can get me those other 2% by actually admitting that they're together on the show. Give me the lines. I need the verbal communication. I'm not good at reading the other stuff.
Yeah.
Clearly. But okay, this is a great episode. Lots of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was nice to have an episode that gave a lot of laughs. I mean, this show is pretty serious a lot of the times, but when they do have, moments like everything that was happening with Gibbs tonight, it's nice to have a couple laughs with this show.
And in case you're wondering why we keep having these long hiatuses, filming was shut down a lot in January.
Yep.
There's still a lot more to come. They're just all going to be a little bit more spaced out, so patience, as much as that sucks, given that we've only had 3 episodes this year so far.
Yeah, patience, guys. We're all in it together. Well,
let us know what you thought about this episode 1 millimeter. Do you believe that Bishop and Torres kissed off screen? Are you Team Jess on this one? And if they didn't, do you think we're actually going to see it on screen, or they are just going to continue to make us suffer? Let us know in the comments, and if you do enjoy this video, subscribe to the channel, and in the description we have links to our Patreon and also our store if you want to support us in those ways.
Yep.
And we'll see you here next time.